Hey, good morning everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So this morning I'm going to do just a really quick overview, not a tutorial, but an explanation of how I utilize really simple shapes to create more complex characters. So, in the midst of my thought process and doing this video, I started thinking about how I could really streamline things down in a way that helps you understand, whenever I'm going through the whole character design process, how I start out in positioning, in doing all of these things. So basically, as somebody that doesn't draw a lot, and if you're on my channel, hopefully you're here to learn something, what I do is I utilize basic shapes. So we all know how to draw a circle. Okay, we all know how to draw squares, rectangles, so on and so forth. Where the problem comes in is whenever we start trying to manipulate these things in a three-dimensional space. So these are flat, right? This particular shape language is flat, and flat being it is you only see one side, right? You have height and you have width. So here's the height right here, obviously, and here's the width. Okay, so whenever we start drawing like this, it has a conflict in our brains, or at least it does for me. So I'm drawing like this, and I'm wanting to inject my train of thought, which I'm used to three-dimensional space. So my in my brain and how I was raised and in my environment, I'm trained naturally to think height, width, and depth. Okay? So now I start thinking, right? So this could be so now I have height, I have width, and then naturally I think in three dimensions. So height 1, width 2, depth 3. So this is three-dimensional, 3D way of thinking. And what happens, I think, and I really tried to get in there in my brain and start kind of leveling off an idea of how to explain it to somebody who doesn't draw a lot, or even somebody who does and really has that conflict. So I might draw a circle, right? You guys have seen me do this before. And then immediately whenever I draw the circle, I'm not thinking of it in terms of a circle on a page. I know that's hard to think initially whenever you draw something, but I never am thinking in terms of a 2D page. I'm thinking of this world, even though I can't stick my hand inside of it, I think of this world as a three-dimensional space. So immediately whenever I draw the circle, I'm automatically thinking three dimensions. So I need to think, remember, height, width, and of course depth. Okay, so now whenever I have a more complex shape, such as a bird, or maybe a bird in action or something along those lines, what I start thinking, I think in terms of overlapping forms. Those forms are what I'm used to. Form being height, width, and depth, and I can actually, my head wraps around this concept of touching something. So if I could reach my hand into this, I would actually touch it. Okay, so let's say, you guys have probably seen me do this before. What I'll do is I'll just rough in something really quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rough this in. Okay, so this doesn't look like a lot, but in my brain I'm thinking this is the front of the bird. Okay, this is the side of the bird. This is the back of the bird. I know that it's hard, I think, to think sometimes of how somebody's going to go about thinking about this. But what I did basically is I'm not drawing on a surface. I'm sculpting with my pencil. And you'll see teachers and students a lot of times do this, because this way of sketching, a lot of times, it instead of having a separation of feel and thought, whenever you draw a pencil, use a pencil like this, they'll turn it over, and what that automatically does is it puts your palm and your fingers in contact with the surface, and then you actually a lot of times can feel the let's see if I can do this here. The drawing, feeling the drawing. It's like, how do you feel the drawing, right? So now I put in the legs, just simple lines of action that continue that weight, balance, weight, motion, form, gesture. All of these things come into account. But what I'm trying to get you guys to understand is this is not a 2D surface anymore. This is a 3D environment. So you really have to just start thinking, in 3D environments, there are some things in the drawing that you're just not going to see. As things move away from you, they're going to get smaller. If things are closer to you, maybe this particular character's reaching out a little bit. And all of these, gravity is an effect. Gravity's an effect. Woohoo! And I'm starting to just get a real feel for this particular character drawing. So as I'm moving in and understanding, it's like this arm right here. I'm not thinking of it in terms of all the bone structure. I'm not thinking of it in terms of all the fingers and all the feathers and everything's going on. I am thinking of it as a simple shape that is affected by gravity. So if this shape is affected by gravity, I'm going to have it, I'm sculpting it. I can actually feel this hand coming toward me. And then it's attached kind of in the front right here. And this one comes up. And there's another one on the other side. This is where a lot of people get confused, because they want to put the arm right here, and you can, but what I'm doing is I'm thinking in terms of 3D. Okay, I need to flesh a couple of these little things out here. Just a second, so I can better understand where that arm is. Okay, so now it's going to come around here. Now here's the side of this particular character's head, and it's going to come around, and that other arm is going to start somewhere I cannot see. And I want you see how this line comes up? You can basically draw this up and around, because this one's reaching forward, therefore this one goes and it goes backwards. Okay, so it's going to come here. And here. Okay, so now I can put in the beak. So I'm going to have this line right here. That again, since this is a three-dimensional form, the head is tilted slightly here and it's coming towards me slightly. So instead of him looking up, where that line would be like this, I'm going to have it come down. And here's the beak. Okay. And I'm going to have, since it is kind of a cartoon, I'm going to have that eyebrow come up. And here. And have that eye right here. An eye right there. See, once I put those in, then I get a real sense and feel. That's why a lot of times you'll see artists do the face first, because the rest of the body will really kind of be dictated by that expression. Okay. Let's have that come here. And it depends on how much you want to anthropomorphize the character and how human you want to make it. Right. Some feathers here. Have that other leg. Comes around. Comes here. And two, it helps me a lot to think in terms of simple shapes. You know, not getting into the real, just all the details and whatnot, because I can add the details at any time. Right? I can go back. I can make these look a little bit more like feet. But in terms of gesture in 3D and form and how I'm trying to manipulate this particular shape, these simple shapes, into a more complex character, I need to think simple gesture. I need to think lines, just, you know, lines of action, lines of form to create the form. And thinking in 3 dimensions is literally the only way, and we're already doing it, you guys. You're already thinking in 3 dimensions. You're already thinking, you're already living in your world of 3 dimensions. You're already doing it. Because you guys live in a 3D world. That's why a lot of times, believe it or not, a lot of times you'll see 3D artists that directly went into 3D, and they never went into 2D drawing and understanding these concepts of 2D because they didn't need to. You don't need to draw to be a good 3D artist. It helps, but you really don't, because you're skipping over that translation concept, that translation of thinking in 3D, you know, having to do something in 2D, drawing on the paper to make it look 3D. I've said that more than once. And it's a construct that is it's hard, you know, and some people are better at it than others. You know, I'm still learning every single day, and one of the reasons why I do the whole I call them practice sketches, which is what this is. I basically still am struggling with this concept, trying to translate something in my brain that is 3D, but I have to draw it on a 2D surface to make it look 3D. And again, I started out with this simple circle, and then that overlapping comes here, and then here's the back of him, and it goes up and around like this. And you can't see that, but in my brain I can. I can see that. I can see where this other leg connects on the underside of this. I can see where this other arm connects where I can't see. That's why, you know, a lot of my drawings have good spatial awareness, because I'm always trying to think of, you know, where's that other arm going? Where's that other, you know, leg going? Where, you know, in terms of weight, since he's putting all of his weight here, right? This leg is balancing, and he's got all his weight here, and he's moving forward. So he's got all this forward motion here, right? All this forward motion, and then this leg right here is kind of balancing him from going this way. So he's got this leg up to kind of balance that whole feeling. So let's go on to the next drawing, and I'm going to show you in terms of thinking. Okay, so let's get this here. My pencil's shrinking into my holder here. Okay. Well, let's do this. It's going to go like this. Okay, here. This needs to go up further. Up. Up. Around. I think it's a lot of times those overlapping shapes that really confuse us, and even, like I said, even to this day, I have issues with perspective and overlapping, and it really helps times to do these. See how his weight, this big bulbous mass, he's putting all this weight. It's not going to come straight down. You want it to come in because he's got to balance all of this weight too, so this actually needs to come here. You can feel it. Have this other one come here. There. Okay. Good. Got a little burr on the inside, on the side of my pencil. Okay. So this comes up. Allergies season is in full swing, so I've been really trying to hammer some remedies to allergies. If you guys know of any, please let me know, because I've been really dealing with some allergies lately. It's been brutal. Brutal! Okay, so let's go. Let eye come up. Get a little bit of attitude. All right. Good. Okay. Down. That seems like fun. Okay. Okay, so I like this line right here. So I'm going to continue this line. Come up. I like that. Here. And kind of come right here, because he's kind of compressed a little bit. I'm just going to have that over. You know, this principle right here is this overlapping lines. This is really simple. If you ever take your fingers and you basically fold them like this, you can see this principle in action. You can see whenever you fold your finger in, the bottom part gets wider and fatter and it pushes out because it's compressing the skin. The same thing is happening here, and you can translate or transfer it right to your drawing. Okay? Get a little bit of attitude. Yeah, what? Let's push those over a little bit. Pencil's falling. Gravity, it's the law. Okay, so now we'll come here to this foot right here. Be a straight foot right there. Kind of running out of space over here, so I'm trying to deal with that. Not a very good example of correct composition on the page, but I'm not, you know, this is just an exercise, so I'm not really concerned with where it is placed on the page. Okay. A little bit wider at the bottom. Right. And you see how I drew this line right here that goes to the top of this form, his head, and it comes all the way down, right? His line of action is right here, okay? But his body line comes all the way down, and I want to show a little bit of this differentiation in color fur patch. So I'm just basically placing it here, and you can't see all of the front of his body because you're seeing top of it. So remember, there's parts of him that you can't see. So I'm having that right, and this leg is coming out, kind of folding under, and this one's here. And again, I'm not thinking in toes, in terms of toes. I'm not doing toes right now. I'm just basically, I'm doing that big shape, and then I'll come back and I'll put in those peripheral details to help sell it, to help sell this character. Okay? So then I got to do this other arm. I like this line, like I said, I like this line here. This line comes this way, so now I'm going to go up. So the principle of different arcs gives your drawing life. So I'm going to come here, and this one's going to be rounded. Okay, so straight, rounded, and I'm going to put a little bit of a 3D, I call it like a 3D, it's like a 3D helper to help me determine the width of this form, and then it's going to come up, okay, here, here, well, I got a little bit further out, I'm going to have this pinky coming out, here, here, and then that thumb coming here. Okay, and again I'm going to come back here. I'm going to sell this just a little bit more, maybe color it in just slightly, kind of show there's a shadow. Here. Maybe that's got a little bit of a line on there. And don't be afraid to play around, right? Don't be afraid to mess things up. This isn't the best drawing I've ever done. These aren't the worst drawings I've ever done. And believe me, I still have a lot of bad drawings in me, and I still do a lot of bad drawing. I still fail a lot. I still do things very wrong. But you know, that's part of this whole process of learning and determining what you like, what you don't like, what you're interested in, you know. Now, am I a lot better than I was 10 years ago? Yeah. Do I still have a whole heck of a lot to go? Yeah. And just as long as I realize that, then I'm teachable. And I think that's an important principle too, is being teachable and understanding that you don't know everything. And you know, even you know, if you've been doing this for 30 years, there's still a lot of things that you get wrong. And what's really cool though is you've been doing this a while, you have a little bit of wisdom, just enough to get you in trouble. I have a saying, I have just enough wisdom to show me how ignorant I am. You know, my wisdom kicks in and goes, no, you're kind of dumb on this. You're ignorant. You don't really understand the principles that well. And like I said before, if you understand that principle going into this, then you'll say, hey, you know, today was a good day drawing. It wasn't my best, but you know what? I learned something, and that's important. That's all I wanted to show you guys today. Something simple, understanding three-dimensional thought, realizing that this surface that you're drawing on is not 2D. You might touch it, okay? But whenever you draw something on it, do not think 2 dimension. Do not think height, width. You're reaching into this environment and world, and you're sculpting with your pencil. Okay, so that's all I wanted to show you guys today. Like and subscribe if you like what you see, and as always, there's more videos coming. And please go out and draw something today. Show a little beauty to the world, because there's a lot of stuff going on. And that's pretty much it. See you next time, guys. Bye.